So this section we'll talk a little bit about, I like to talk about things about interest rate. I like to talk about things like currency, ringgit, movement, and so on. I like to look at, for me, right, of course, there is the micro, meaning that people like Ryan who are expert in the micro segment. So what they will do typically is to look at the country's development, specific locations, city development, ports, railways, and so on. I like to look at it from a macro level, meaning is the country safe? Is the country safe enough? What's going for it? What are the underlying fundamentals and principles behind it? Is it safe? Is it not so safe? And so on, right? So a bit about financing the property market. So we will look at this a little bit more. Factors that affect lending. So for those of you who want to later contact me, if in case you forget, you can take a picture of this. If not, it's very easy to find me. So let's go a little bit about currency movement, right? So a lot of people, some of you who has heard my presentation before, then you would know that I am a firm fan, right? I think I am a fan of Bank Negara Malaysia, and I'm also a fan of Mahathir, even though some of you might not like him. I do like him a lot. For later you will understand a little bit more why. And it's important to know how countries manage finances and so on and so forth, because it's no point for you to gradually make $1 million, $2 million, $3 million of some, XX currency, and then later that currency has dropped, to become worthless pieces of paper, right? Country falls into disrepair and so on and so forth. So how do countries manage? Typically, countries manage their macroeconomic finance through this triangle. It's actually as simple as a triangle. You only need to know 3 things, right? Capital flow, exchange rate, and monetary policy. When I say monetary policy, what does that mean? It means that is the country able to set its own interest rate? Are they able to print more money? Are they able to expand credit, right? So this is what a sovereign country will do, to say, okay, country is going slower, let's reduce interest rate. Or country is going faster, let's increase interest rate, put on the brakes. Oh, we need more credit, so we need to print more money, right? So every country prints money, right? So, but of course, every country wants to choose everything, right? You want a wife that is outspoken and yet obedient. Got such thing or not? You want a husband that is keep you company all the time, but yet is very successful and rich. I think some things got to give, okay? You can only choose 2. Or maximum 2. So many countries, they have a combination of all these things, right? So managing interest rates and money supply, how do you do it? You manage free capital flow, exchange rate, and for example, just give you a very simple example. If country A is set at 5% interest rate, suddenly the country A says that, now I think all the industries are slowing down. We need to reduce interest rate, let them grow a bit faster, let them borrow at lower cost, let's reduce their debt burden. Then what will happen is, if country B sets reduce the lower rate, so when country B reduce the interest rate, then what will happen? The funds will go from country B to country A. Because, I was getting 5%, now you go and reduce my interest rate. What will happen? I will take my money out, bye-bye. Right? If bank DBS give you 2%, UOB give you 2.5% for deposit, where will you put your money? The choice is clear, right? So countries is the same, right? So B's money go to A. Then B lose capital and A increase capital. So much so that when this money escape, where must they go to? They must come to Paul. Paul say, okay, approved, then your money can go. Right or not? Correct? No, I don't call the shots. So it goes to this thing called exchange rate, right? So if the money keep on going out, then people are keep on rushing to the door, right? B's money keep on rushing to the door to A. Then B currency loses value, B currency loses value, and A currency gains value, right? So much so that until such time that the currency of A appreciate and B depreciate. So a lot of the micro or the more broad movements of the country's funds flows are due to this kind of factors. So can you manage the appreciation, right? If you manage the appreciation of B versus A, so you say, hey, I want to increase my value of B to A. You cannot own self say one, no? Not like last time, right? Before the 1997 financial crisis, it's own self say one, okay? I say my money is worth so much. I say my car is worth so much. You say and the market rate got difference one, okay? So you say you're worth so much. Then you say you're worth so much. Then if you try to manage exchange rate so much, then the money will come in. All the money from other countries will come in because the A will lose capital, right? So when B interest rate drop, A interest rate will rise, you see? So you want to try and manage appreciation on B against A. So your B become higher than A, then your exchange rate is stronger, right? Then money will come into your country, right? When money come into your country, there is a lot of money in the system, in the market, then interest rate will become low, right? So which country is the major culprit of this? Can anyone give me a raise of hand, sir? Huh? Yes, which country is a B? Which is a country that is typically a B? Yes, that's right. Singapore is the culprit of being a B. Singapore always keep its currency strong. So much so that funds and capital inflow are maintained at a strong or moderate to strong level. When you do that, the interest rate within the environment becomes low. When interest rate becomes low, what does the country become? Can anyone tell me? Huh? Spending. Yes, you can spend, but there are ways for them to chop the spending, right? Like cooling measure, this and that. But Singapore then becomes a financial market, right? You need a strong currency or currency that can maintain that strength for that strongness, right? So that people believe that you can maintain that, and then when people have more money come in your country's currency, and interest rate in the natural environment becomes low. And when interest rate becomes low, naturally you can fund a lot more activities and economic activities that would otherwise be non-feasible had you not have this kind of funding, right? So you can say that Singapore's economic growth partly was due to the budget surplus by CPF. CPF is an English invention, not Lee Kuan Yew, by the way, right? So when all this thing comes in, we have been able to use debt and credit to fund a lot of things that would have otherwise been unfeasible at all compared to any other countries. Okay? So this is last year's charts, right? Of course, this year is a foregone conclusion. Is US recovering? I think US is recovering. It has recovered. So you look at the labor force participation, it's also going up. Labor force participation means what? People are going back to work, right? If you are jobless, you say, okay, I'm jobless. After 6 months, 8 months, I'm no longer looking for a job, but you still don't have a job, right? You are not counted in the unemployment, right? So the true unemployment in every country is much higher than stated, okay? Not just US, every country lies about this, right? They have a similar method of lying about this, so it's consistent lying, right? I mean, statistical lah. I mean, lying is just joking only, okay? So the unemployment rate is actually dropping to about that time 4 point something. You'll see later on. Right, US recovery last time was tentative, but now it's confirmed. Why is this important? Why US is important for us? Why we kepo? Because US recovery affects our borrowing cost. Right, so you can look at core inflation above 2%. Above 2% inflation is Federal Reserve cautionary mark. Anytime it's above 2%, they will try to put the brakes. Right, so this is the latest, that's not the latest one, all right? You can see that in the past, low unemployment rate, high interest rate. This was the past, This is 2017. Of course, 2017 is looking at the up to 2016, the data lah. So now you see, the last year I was talking, it was only until here. Now you can see, last year I already warned you all that interest rate is going up. Now you see, it has gone up. Is it going to go up? I think it's got some way to go. Unemployment rate is 3.7 in the US at an all-time low. Let's ignore labor participation for now because labor participation is creeping up. So the recovery is real. Even though the jobs are not as good as before, but the disposable spending is not rising as much as it used to, but it is still rising nonetheless. Right? So it's a very soft recovery, so to speak, but nonetheless, everything's are looking up for the US. What does this mean? When your interest rates are rising, your economy is picking up. When your interest rates rise, then people will put in that country, right? So US is sucking up dollars, US dollars, from left, right, center. South American countries already going into semi-default situation. All right? Because now they cannot coincide with the money being withdrawn because the money is being pulled back and back into the US. So emerging countries and developed countries will have to be very, very careful with this development. Otherwise, they will face with an electric shock. Okay? Fed overnight rate is targeted at 2.25%. Right. Singapore rate also increased because of this guy here. Right. I think not looks set to rise, already rising, looks set to rise further. Strengthening US dollar. Forced interest rate hike in countries, forces interest rate hike in countries, right? So far, I think Malaysia is holding up quite well. Singapore also holding up quite well. Capital inflows in Malaysia, right, is good. It is starting to cause instability in some emerging countries. So I think this is the single most important slide that you need to take. Macroeconomic conditions at a glance. Okay, let's look at this. This is 2017-18. I just mixed and juxtaposed some of them, right? Singapore's growth rate, 2.6%. Wait, I think I have another new one. Where's the, oh dear, I didn't put this. I put on the wrong slide. Okay, never mind. Okay, so US now is 3.5%. 3.5% growth in the last quarter. Singapore, 2.6%. Malaysia, 5% forecasted. Last quarter, 4.5%, right? So Malaysia is still healthily growing vis-a-vis all the regional emerging markets, right? Probably one or two other ASEAN countries grow stronger than Malaysia. Core inflation has dropped in Malaysia, meaning that there is some weakness in the spending, but nonetheless it's healthy. Debt to GDP level quoted in Malaysia is 50.9%. Right, so it's actually quite low. Singapore is 110%. The last quarter in 2018 is 104% of GDP. So Singapore's debt is actually quite high. US, of course, no need to say it's basket case, but they print the dollars, so so they have a powerful military to back it up. Who dare to say the US dollar is basket? Then we will attack who? So that one is okay, right? So balance of trade, Malaysia side is 8.3 billion Malaysian ringgit balance of trade, meaning that when you trade, you have a positive trade balance, means that money is flowing into the country. Of course, there are some weaknesses like bond interest payments and so on, but nonetheless, 8.3 billion is only in September. annual is looking at an estimated 100 billion ringgit of trade surplus in Malaysia, right? So that is a positive. Negative is actually still the budget, government budget of -3% in 2017. I think Ryan has interestingly pointed out that the first 4 months they are running, they find money to run a surplus, right? So hopefully we'll see that trend coming on. But I only see -3%, from -3.2 to -3%. So going forward, foreign exchange reserve is at 104 billion. 104 billion is much compared to 1997 and so on, where the reserves were only like 20, 30 billion. It's a huge, huge difference. And the debt cover is 1.1 times. That means the reserve is able to cover their debt by 1.1 times, meaning that they got more reserves than debt. So that one's nothing to worry about. Labor participation is high. So Malaysia employment rate is actually very high. It's as high as Singapore. 68% participation versus 68.4%. Unemployment rate is at 3.4%, probably around 3 all-time low. Singapore is about 2-point-something%. Okay. Household debt has been falling. Again, sorry, this one, when I updated that time, I think I updated in the wrong sheet. But okay, Q1 is 67%. So household debt has dropped from a dangerous 90% to about 67%. So the indebtedness of Malaysian household has dropped. I don't know why it has dropped so much, but it has dropped. Okay, Singapore side is around 62%. Right now it's about 50+%, 58, 59%. Right, so Singapore side is also have some more buffer. After so many years of cooling, now some of those excesses have been digested. Okay, home ownership, both are high. Malaysia side is not so high. I think it's about the natural level for this kind of countries where the properties are not so expensive. US is 63, Singapore is 90. Is abnormal. Singapore is really abnormal. Very few countries you see everyone own their house one. All right. In most countries, you will see the 70% mark. I think is the equilibrium, in my opinion. Okay. So Malaysians going to buy more, buy less. I think it's about there. Okay. Depending on their income level. Okay. Interest rate is at 3.25%, and it has not risen for a long, long time at 3.25%. It indicates that Malaysia ringgit and the country is actually strong enough to withstand the exodus of funds. Given that, you know, the US in the last year, the USD, the US currency and the funds flow have been decidedly one-sided towards the US dollar. And even at the backdrop of that, we actually see an inflow in dollars. This is not 114 US dollars, it's 114 billion US dollars in August. Singapore inflow is 14 billion. Of course, when you say inflow of dollars, what it means, people put money there, right? Either through investment, people put money there because foreign direct investment, people put money there because of what? Because of other reasons, right? And of course, trade surplus, so you have a balanced inflow, right? Malaysia also has an inflow. Malaysia has actually quite balanced. Outflow, inflow, outflow, inflow is always about that, right? Because Malaysia got debt, so they have interest payment. But Malaysia have a net positive FDI and also net positive trade surplus. So that is probably, Malaysia side is more balanced, right? So this is the outlook of the Singapore, US and Malaysia, right? So I think not so bad, improving. And I'm also quite positive. Of course, the developer didn't pay me a single cent, neither did Guru, so I'm saying this on my own accord. But I would encourage them to pay me later, you know. Okay, so this is the thing at a glance. So for the pros, I think Malaysia has strong fundamentals. Even though the market is slightly weakening in the last few months, but the strong fundamentals are there. The trade surplus are pretty much intact, right? The industry and so on are pretty much intact. So I know some of you have looked at Malaysia saying that Malaysia palm oil drop lah, crude oil drop lah, Malaysia is finished lah. All those are rubbish. right? I have a few other articles that are published in 2016. Way before anyone have spoken about this, I have actually spoken out. Way before Guru invited me to talk, okay? So I believe that if you look at Malaysia's economic and industry structure, palm oil and crude oil accounts for less than 20% of the entire economy. Less than, all right? So actually the major products, the exports are finished products, manufacturing products, and telecommunications, okay? Surprisingly, right? Reasonable GDP growth, low debt to GDP ratio. Of course, there are some debt which they later have to realize because of 1MDB, and those are manageable. Low budget deficit, even though it's minus 3%, that means for every $100 you earn, you are spending $103. You say, how can that be low? Okay, if you don't believe, you look at the rest of the other countries worldwide, all the developing countries and developed countries, minus 3% is low. Okay? You will realize that later when you do some more research. That means in the if you have to run, person A asks person B, tiger is coming. Then this person A bent down, bent his shoelace, said, aren't you afraid tiger is coming? You don't run fast? He said, never mind. I don't have, he said, can you run faster than the tiger? No, I cannot run faster than the tiger. Then he said, really, why? I only need to run faster than you. You know what I mean? So yes, you can talk in the absolute sense that yes, you're still spending more than you earn. But a lot of countries, and I'm talking about all the major economies, are all spending more than you earn. So the tiger will eat the weakest one first, right? So the one, as long as you run faster, you still have time to get it right. Previously, 45% to 50% that is owed to foreigners. Now that percentage has dropped. Okay, so stable Malaysia and no lack of buyers. Capital inflows are pros. And of course, I go to Malaysia to pump petrol every week, so I have to say some good things. No, just kidding. So some people are worried about that. Malaysia so much debt. Worry or not? I actually not worried. Now, as opposed to almost 30-40%, only around 23.7% of Malaysia's debt is owned by non-resident holdings. When we say non-resident holdings, means people that don't reside in Malaysia. Can be still Malaysian, buying Malaysian bonds. That one I don't know. But generally non-resident, we generally extrapolate to think that they are foreigners. Okay? Therefore, any potential shocks will become lesser because those people that are buying are within onshore Malaysia. Okay? Of course, a lot of them are hedge funds that are based, or portfolio funds based in Malaysia themselves. And of course, EPF, right? Last time people say that, hey, Malaysia, jala, all those bonds nobody buy. Who buys? Guess who buys? EPF. Right? EPF is Malaysia's equivalent of the pension fund, the CPF. The only difference between Malaysia EPF and Singapore CPF is that Malaysia EPF gives their depositors much higher interest rate than give us. We damn poor thing. Then my government rich can already, okay? Okay, so Malaysia beats spread. Indonesia, Philippines, India, Thailand, Malaysia, Singapore, Korea. You can see the year to date, Singapore, in fact, issue so many bonds. Issue. Singapore, you say so rich. Keep on issuing bonds. Very fishy. Also scared. But never mind. That one, the side topic. So you can see that Malaysia bid spread is lower than that of Singapore. For some of the bonds issued. The BPS change. Where is BPS change? Is the sovereign bond yield. There. So it's favored by investor, right, as it goes along. I think also because of the new change of government, people feel positive about the ongoing development, even though as the economy is like, the GDP growth is slowing down, okay? Malaysian ringgit will have continued weakness, all right, amid strong fundamentals. Not super strong fundamentals, but strong fundamentals, okay? That one we cannot lie. Malaysia holdings up against US dollar compared to other emerging countries, all right, that's a fact. Currently is around 3.02, 1 Sing dollar. I expect Malaysian ringgit to further weaken against US dollar in 2019 and 2020, right? Because the US economic trend is established. So do not worry when all the regional currencies continue to slide against that. I think that is to be expected, okay? So take your time, do your homework, and do your, your investment or whatever you want to do, okay? I think in the last time when 3.1819, I also was talking here, I think in the Malaysia Property Expo also, 3.16, 3.18. People are saying that, wow, jialah, will drop to 350, 340. Remember that time, if you all have the recording, I said no, it will strengthen. Remember? You all remember? Anyone here before? Now, I will say it will weaken, but I don't think it will weaken much more, but it will slightly weaken, I think, in a more controlled manner. Okay? Regional performance of regional currencies against US dollar. Bank Negara Q2 2018. Malaysian has weakened 4.4 in the US dollar. Year to date is about 0.9. Right, so even you look at other countries, they actually weaken significantly more against the US dollar. I'm almost done, not to worry. Right, so I think now in the fundamentals we have gone through, of course, a lot more to talk about. The why ringgit not so strong, why not so weak. I think 101 reasons, right? But there is much less speculative forces against the ringgit now compared to 2016 and compared to much earlier. Remember in 2016, I published an article said that foreign speculators are screwing the ringgit, right? Putting fake news, a lot of fake news. And Bank Negara at that time forced all the non-deliverable forward contracts to be traded in Malaysia. That time, all the likes of Bloomberg routers all cry foul. Why? Because they want to cook the Malaysian ringgit by shorting them. When the London market, New York market, and the Singapore market can trade the non-deliverable forward, they can infer, not to say the real one, they can infer Malaysian ringgit valuation. That means they are side betting. Your real bet, the horse here got 200 people betting. Your outside bet, taking the binoculars, got 2,000 people betting. If the 2,000 people betting think the horse A will win, they will say, this 300 people will hear, I heard outside those people in the mountain, they got 2,000 people. Hear that, the currency will drop, will finish. Well, then here panic. Right? That is what happened. And that is what the speculators want to achieve. All right, so Malaysia, Bank Negara says, stop all this nonsense. You all want to trade onshore. Trade onshore in KL. Then the speculator not happy, make a lot of news. Malaysia basket case finish no people will like blah blah blah, right? So all those sort of things happening, right? I don't like that. I'm not Malaysian, by the way. Okay, so for Singapore in Malaysia, for Singapore dollars, for financing in Singapore dollars, some of the things to consider is the Singapore most dreaded thing applies. What is the Singapore's most dreaded thing? Can anyone tell me? TDSR, right? So if we look at the rates that is being offered right now, roughly, so we're looking at about 3 months SIBOR plus 2.5. Don't ask me to compare rates for Malaysia. We don't compare rates for Malaysia. You take it or leave it, okay? Because there's nothing to compare. It's always SIBOR plus 2.5, SIBOR plus 2.4, SIBOR plus 2.25. That's about it, right? It depends on which bank can give you the loan fastest and can pass through and recognize your assets better. That's it, right? There is not so many fancy structure like SIBOR, MIBOR, blah, 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 right? No such thing, okay? So this is the way it is, roughly. No outstanding housing loan, right? Then these are the things. 65 years old, up to 80%, typically up to 70% loan, right? So you need to come out more cash. If you have outstanding loan, then right. So 5 years to 30 years cap at age limit. All right. Location. Not all locations accepted. Depends on the bank. Right. Some people like certain locations. Some banks don't like. Yeah. So for Malaysia one, roughly about this. Okay. Malaysia side also need to check secrets, right, in Malaysian dollars. So this is a rough snapshot, right, of the interest rate, about 4+ in ringgit. Right, so these are the interest rate trend. So this is the current Bank Negara 3.25 rate, and this is the rate roughly that is being charged by the bank, right? Okay. Any questions so far? Oh, so I will ignore this cash out lah. Okay, I think time is up, right?